Hello? Hello, Abe? You're on mute, Abe. Hello? Unmute yourself. Can't hear you. Now, here we go. Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Now you're out of mute.
Yeah, I know. I can't figure out why.
Okay, you're fine. You can hear me
Yeah,
and you can see me.
yeah, you're looking good.
Yeah, I could see you. The bottom of your head is looking good, but I can't see the top of your head. Can you move your camera? Can you
Uh,
adjust,
I'm trying to adjust it. I don't know
maybe
why.
lower your seat a little bit? Can you lower your seat?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. No.
Okay. It could be worse. It could be worse.
There I am.
Yeah, there you go. I recognize that man. Hi.
I have to hold it up.
Oh, you're gonna have to do that the whole time? No.
I don't know why. This usually is centered.
Okay. Is that your phone or your laptop?
No, it's my desktop.
Your desktop. Okay. So the camera won't stay put unless you hold it?
Right now, I don't know. I
Uh,
don't know.
could it be that your chair is up too high? That your chair might need to go lower?
I don't know. I don't know
Don't
how to.
Oh, don't worry about that. Yeah.
Let's forget it. Yeah.
Okay. So finally succeeded in having a Zoom.
Yeah. That's right.
It's a nice technology. It's just hard to figure out how to do it.
Well, you did.
Yeah, finally did it. I think if it works, we might be able to do a alternate Zoom, on Sundays so that when people log out of ethical, they could log on to something that we do.
Well, that would be interesting because I don't know if you know Sandra Stein, but she usually likes to converse right after the meeting, and she
Right.
sometimes brings a topic, and I think she would enjoy that.
Yeah, I remember chatting with her on one of those after the platform conversations.
Yeah, she's
She's,
very well informed.
yeah, she seems really nice and well informed, as you say. Yeah, so are you comfortable? Is your arm comfortable holding
Yeah,
up the camera?
it's fine.
Okay, okay, good. I don't want to, it's
Um,
kind of like, I guess, kind of like holding a phone.
no, my arm is resting.
Okay, Okay, don't let it fall asleep. So now that we have the Zoom, I bet we cannot figure out what to talk about.
Well, I just came from the farmer's market. Got
Oh,
some vegetables, some peaches, and corn, and
nice.
onions.
Okay.
Did you ever hear of garlic scrapes?
No, what? Tell me about it.
They're very long, um, and they have a bit of garlic in the middle of it, but it's a long string with a tiny bit of garlic in it. But the strings, I think, are edible.
Uh-huh. Is it a vegetable or is it a baked good?
It's garlic.
Okay. But I'm just saying, does it grow as a garlic scrape or is it made into a garlic scrape by somebody?
No, it's grown. It's
Okay. Yeah, this
yeah.
is the first I've heard of it. How long have you been eating those since childhood?
Oh, I've been going there for a long time.
And the garlic scrapes you've had since childhood?
Somewhat.
The garlic scrapes you've tasted since you were a child?
No, I found them there a few weeks ago, and
Okay.
I got them again. Uh, and then the onions are just little round white balls, separate from uh, anything else. And I get a whole pack of them. And most of what I get is unpacked. It's free, and it's right from the farm.
Wow.
And
Nice.
and most of the stands are organic.
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced better health since I've gone there.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, whole foods are great to have, especially organic.
Yeah, Kurt Collier recommended it,
Mm-hmm.
and he was very pleased when I told him that I was going. I used to bring my compost there, but now my aide brings them right across the FDR,
Oh,
where
okay.
so I don't have to bother dropping them off.
Okay. Wow. So, are you taking care of yourself with regard to the Delta variant?
Oh, I watch I read everything about it. It's amazing. It's amazing what a little tiny microscopic parasite can evolve, and we're in a state of confusion.
Well,
We concentrate on one locality, and we think everything's fine, and it doesn't work. The virus is much smarter than that, and
mm,
it moves to wherever uh, people are not taking care of themselves, and it evolves. And this delta is uh, is venomous. It's hot. They say it's as contagious as chickenpox. I think
right.
we talked about that.
Yeah, and the common cold. And the common cold. It's as contagious as the common cold.
As a common cold, and
And chickenpox, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been very careful. I even bought a pair of gloves to go shopping with. I'll go shopping with gloves on now.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a mask and gloves.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, and just not to let my guard down with regard to the gloves. I'm not gonna, take them and just start smudging my face with them. I have to be careful what I do with the gloves after I handle all this stuff. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was in a hardware store the other day, one of the bigger hardware stores, one called Lowe's, and it's like, big department store in there. and I just assume the virus is there. I just assume it's there and act as if it is there. And that's the way I'm safeguarding my health right now. But one of the problems that I have, Abe, is with the messaging. I think obviously the vaccine is critical and people get it. It's the quickest way to protect yourself, the safest way to protect yourself. But I think there should be some simultaneous messaging about keeping your health in good standing. So if people are smoking, encourage them to stop smoking. If people are not, taking vitamin C and good healthy organic foods, start to do it. Get outdoor exercise as much as possible, lose weight. Essentially, what I think is happening, a lot of people who will not go near the vaccine are doing alternative things anyway. So if the CDC endorses those things, at least people will see they're not, you know, negating them, and maybe bring people over to get a vaccine as well.
Well, well, they did. They used to say, "Wash your hands."
Hmm.
Uh, two choruses of "Happy Birthday."
Yeah. Hopefully you'll make it to
They
the
stopped
second
doing
one.
that. They used to say, "Make sure your counters are scrubbed," and
Yeah.
they said that that's not necessary. Um, they've been they're learning as they go along, and that I think that's what they should be saying is that um, this is a moving target.
Right.
Uh, and the other thing is, I, I think it's so foolish to think that you could control the virus in one area, like New York City, or um, it doesn't work that
Yeah.
way.
No, I agree. I
The
agree.
the COVID is global.
It is global, and we are a very interdependent society. Anything we get comes from all over the country. Truckers are constantly going in and out, and people are traveling. And
Absolutely,
we're
absolutely.
we're very interdependent for sure.
Yeah, I mean, people used to brag about the fact that uh, it's so easy to travel now. It's like it's not a big problem to go almost anywhere on Earth.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's that's a plus, but the virus travels without an airplane,
Right. Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
and it's a very strange kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like in India was being devastated, and all of a sudden the surge went down without their really vaccinating that many people.
Hmm.
Africa has not experienced it as much as other places.
No, no. In
Uh,
fact, when I call my friends in Africa, Namibia in particular, at our peak when we were losing thousands and thousands and thousands of people per day dying in America, they had only lost a few hundred during the whole pandemic.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, so their country had, up until a certain point, been staving it off and not been affected. But now I haven't talked to my friend in about 2 weeks. I know that things were starting to get more difficult, and the government was starting to take more precautions. So I worry about them. But again, it goes back to my ongoing problem with the American media. We won't hear about a country in Africa until they have some kind of catastrophic, you know, disaster. So if a country like Namibia has been successful in fighting COVID, the media will not cover it. You know, they will not cover it.
that's so true. That's
Yeah,
so,
and It's sad, you know, and that's how we get a lot of our stereotypes and our, you know, backward thinking about a lot of these countries. I
You
can.
know, as I'm doing research for my essay,
Hmm.
I realize that there have been so many movements around the world
I'm listening.
uh, between the Arab Spring and protests in Russia and even China, and that I have a feeling that the majority of people in the world are pretty decent and want some kind of a good form of government, and um, and then the newspapers don't really cover. They cover it, if, they don't analyze it. I mean,
No,
Arab Spring. Why did it arise, and why did it spread like it
right.
did? Was it just to get rid of a few dictators? I'm sure there was a lot behind that. They were
Sure.
protesting their regimes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, you know. I mean, just because you or I send out a message on social media saying let's gather and protest, people aren't going to do it unless there's some legitimacy to it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it was such a hopeful uh, kind of almost a world, a good piece of the world was involved.
Yeah. There was
Uh,
the only place that really seemed to benefit long term in terms of democracy and parliamentary,
let's see.
institutions. I'm here. I was
Okay.
just, yeah, I was just getting a refresher, so I
Oh,
didn't want to. I didn't want my back on the video while I was talking to you. So basically, the only place that really I think came up more reformed was Tunisia, and
yeah.
hmm and
Now,
sadly this week the president dissolved the parliament and got rid of the prime minister.
yeah, I've been reading about it, and there are protests and counter protests there. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, it's tough. It's tough.
I think for me, ultimately, when I hear about reform in a country like Morocco or Algeria, I have to think what will be the Moroccan cultural equivalent of a better society. It's not going to be a Democratic and Republican party with, a Joe Biden from Morocco there. And, you know, it's going to be something that reflects their culture more than ours. Like we always think, oh, democracy looks like our democracy, or better society looks like our society. And I think that's a mistake.
Well, what what countries have decent governments that are not necessarily democratic?
Well, when I say democratic, I guess it's a very broad term. Like one thing that I think Americans get caught up in is the whole free enterprise system. So if a government owns, the means of production, they're labeled dictatorial, but they may have a strong participatory, open, society with a lot of freedom of speech. Um, you know, no country's perfect, but the country of Namibia is a good example. They have a parliamentary system. They have a lot of discussion, open discussion. People are free to speak. Um, there's no, death squads or people being imprisoned for their beliefs there. But they also, have a not purely capitalistic society. Um, their chief resource is diamond mining and uranium mining, and the government controls that. You can invest in it, you can own stock, but ultimately the government is the majority owner, you know. So,
What's been their history?
okay, well, they became independent in 1990. They were a part of apartheid South Africa. And ironically, it was George Bush Sr. who helped them negotiate a an independence, you know. And they adopted a basically a European parliamentary system with a prime minister and a president. And the first president stayed on for from 1990 until I was there. He left in the year 2001, I believe. So he was there for 11 years, and he was, in my opinion, a good president. The opposition didn't like him. You know, they called him a dictator, but he didn't. From what I could see, I lived there 3 years. He wasn't a dictator. He was a strong individual. You know, he was a freedom fighter. He came out of the combat. You know, he was a military person, but you didn't walk down the street feeling. You didn't see soldiers everywhere. You didn't feel a sense of, oppression. Um, so,
That's good
another,
news. That's
yeah,
good news. I didn't know about that.
yeah, and honestly, they don't have the most wonderful feelings about the United States because the United States supported apartheid for so long,
Right.
and we're on the wrong side. Up until George Bush negotiated their independence, the United States was the enemy of the freedom fighters, and the friends of the freedom fighters, the people helping them, were the Cubans and the Soviets and the North Koreans, and pretty much anyone that was against the United States was on their side.
Uh-huh.
And they had the moral high ground. They were against apartheid.
Yeah, that's great. That's good news.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot of good stories. Another great country that no one pays any attention to is their neighbor in Namibia called Botswana. Um,
Botswana.
Botswana, yeah. It's on the border north of South Africa. It's south of Zimbabwe and has had a functioning democracy for probably since the mid 70s, independent of Britain. And, they have elections every 4 years and they change the presidents. And they are actually not as, from what I understand, um, socialist, if you will, as Namibia, from what I've looked at. And yet they get no attention at all in the world because unless someone's massacring, chopping off heads or whatever it is they like to cover, they don't bother with Botswana. It's a gorgeous country. It's very diamond rich. In fact, the Peace Corps was there when they first get their independence, but the reason the Peace Corps had to leave was they were doing too well. The country was doing so well that Peace Corps had to pack up and leave.
Really?
Yeah, and yeah,
Whose decision was that?
yeah, the U.S. government. They basically said everyone's making more money than we are. Why are we here? You know? There's nothing. There's no one to help anymore. They're all helping us. So
Well, that's
it's
great.
yeah, it's a good story. If you ever get to see, I'll send you the link. I don't know if you watch many television series. Do you like television series?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's according. You mean documentaries?
Well, this is a comedy. It's kind of it's a comedy series, but it takes place in Botswana.
Oh,
Yeah, and part of the point of the comedy series is to let you know that there are like funny, nice, regular human beings in Botswana. And the premise of the series is pretty funny. It's a woman who inherits wealth from her dad who passes away, and she decides to take all the wealth and open up a detective agency. So she becomes this detective, a private detective. And it's just like all these funny things that happen to her. But when I watched it, I thought, yeah, this is what Southern Africa is like. This is what the people are like. They're very friendly. They're very, humble, kind, funny, you know. And it's kind of like about everyday life with a little adventure in it. I'll send you the link. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, yeah. It's called the Number One Ladies Detective Agency. I've thought about bringing it to ethical, and if you watch an episode, you could actually have a discussion about ethics after watching the episode. That's how good this is.
Really.
Yeah, they raise a lot of questions about human behavior,
Africa has a Pan-Africa Union.
Well, there's the African Union, which started out as the Organization of African Unity. It was founded in 1963 by the Emperor Haile Selassie. And now it's shortened to reflect like the European Union, and this is their equivalent called the African Union.
Uh, does it do good things?
Yeah, I mean it tries to function like the European Union does. It has its own peacekeeping force. Um, they have a parliament. They have delegates. They have rules for the countries. Um, the ideal was to make it more unified so that there would be one nation called the United States of Africa. But
Wow,
that,
that would be
yeah,
hard.
that hasn't happened. And part of the reason is outside forces don't want it to happen. Inside forces don't want it to happen. Um, but they have their main offices are in South Africa now and in Ethiopia. That's where the original headquarters was, the African Union.
What
Um,
are some of the things they've done?
well, at the very beginning, many of their members included people who were not yet heads of state. So they included freedom fighters seeking independence from Europe. Uh,
Uh-huh.
the Ghanaian freedom fighters, the Tanzanian, and all these leaders formed this union. And so what they became was a financial, military, and moral support for each other to gain their independence. So that was number one. And now it is kind of like the equivalent of the United Nations within Africa. They meet to discuss things when their neighbors have problems. They try to lend assistance. Um, and they even have a delegation that goes to the United Nations and sits at the United
Oh,
Nations. Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I'm not sure who the latest head of the African Union is. Um, I can't keep track. I just lost track of that. But in principle, it has a lot of good ideas.
yeah, that's good to know.
Hmm.
Good to know. One of the things I'm trying to do research on is to find an organ, probably of the UN, like maybe the General Assembly, that would have the power to authorize arbitration between nations that
Hmm.
are close to warfare or conflict.
Right.
And
Well. Hmm.
uh, the International Court of Justice uh, that, can do arbitration, but only if the countries volunteer to accept it. And then it takes a long time to actually put it into effect because the countries have to go back and agree, and they protest and they. But from what I've read, they've succeeded quite a few times. I think there was an arbitration between Nigeria and Chad
Hmm.
that worked over time. But I think the world needs a binding arbitration, and you'll never get it with the Security Council. Uh, it'll be very hard for that.
Well, the U.S. right wing, Reagan and Bush, fought. They fight. They fight the UN as an ideological basis of their party, but they've also fought inclusion in the International Criminal Court. I believe the United States is not a signatory.
I know, I know, I know. It's a big problem.
Yeah,
But
and
uh, I would hope that would change.
yeah, there's a lot that has to be done. I think when Wilson and the originators of the League of Nations came up with the idea, they obviously it started, then it failed, and then it was reconstructed as the United Nations. And I think without World War II and without the Holocaust, it probably would have kept floundering and floundering and floundering. So the question becomes, can humanity muster up the goodwill to do something binding as you're suggesting without some prior catastrophe of some amazing
Yeah,
scale,
yeah,
to scare
yeah,
us into doing it.
yeah. Uh,
I guess my whole thought process comes down to, these things are great. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is probably one of the most important documents ever written by mankind, especially because it's an international document. But they only have, you know, what they only have meaning, and they only have durability and ability to impact humanity if people abide by them, if people actually adhere to them. So, I think impacting cultural norms and the ways people think and the ways people relate to each other, kind of like the way we try to do it ethical, is as significant as writing laws. That's my opinion of it.
well, there's quite a lot of movement toward world citizens, world citizenship. There was a recent poll conducted that showed that among a certain age group, quite young age, maybe people up to in their 20s, early
Hmm.
30s, that a majority of people in the world identify as world citizens more
Wow.
than as national.
Wow.
Uh, Now, I read that, and I'm going to do more research to see how
Hmm.
that is. But there are the other thing is there are movements toward world making decisions, like the Paris Peace Accord. Even though it's weak in enforcement, the idea that 200 countries united is a step, and
Do you mean
the
the climate accord?
climate accord.
Right. Right.
And then recently, I think we spoke about this. Yellen on Biden's she's the head of the Treasury Department, I think.
Hmm. Yeah.
She latched onto the idea. I don't know if she thought of it or just supported someone else's idea of having a minimum tax internationally accepted. And I think over 100 countries have signed on,
Wow.
including Russia and China.
Wow.
Uh, but these are not binding. That's the problem.
Yeah.
At least there's movement toward regulating,
Yeah.
uh, 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 destructive forms of commerce and climate.
Yeah. I think things have to start somewhere. They have to start as an idea,
Well, that's
in
what
order.
I'm trying. That's what I'm doing the research,
Hmm.
is finding all the ways that I could find within a time limit, uh, uh, to see whether these movements are going to materialize,
Hmm.
and there's more hope. One of the things that holds things back, for example, there are quite a few nonprofits, internationally focused on bringing peace in the world,
Hmm.
promoting world citizenship, and they reach out to other countries and uh, other NGOs who are doing the same thing, but they limit themselves to forums, and they're principally set up by rich people who want credit for what they're doing
Hmm.
and get benefits in the tax codes in Europe and in the United States. But they're doing wonderful work, and so what I was suggesting is that they reach out to each other and form some kind of collaboration. The world needs collaboration
Yeah.
and this kind of national organizations. The other
Yeah.
interesting, the other interesting thing I ran into was a book by E.O. Wilson, the
Hmm.
biologist. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He was the one who did a lot of research on the ants and how remarkable they are, and
Hmm.
how they sacrifice their lives to preserve their species.
Wow.
And I make the point that they're willing to sacrifice their lives. We have the intelligence to survive without sacrificing our lives, but we're not using it.
That's a very
Uh,
important point. Yeah.
what he in his latest book is called Genesis, and the point he makes two very important points that are connected to what I'm trying to do. One is, he said that our species is related to a line of species that have altruism in their behavior,
Hmm.
in their genealogy. Of course, we have more than altruism, but we have it. And the other important point is that he points out that there are thousands and thousands of interpretations of how the universe got here, how how, how life exists. So many different uh, myths and tribal beliefs. And he asks the question, how could they all be right?
Hmm.
It's a powerful question.
Right.
And I
Hmm.
repeated, I quoted him uh, to say that, okay, you believe in something very strongly. I can't argue with you on that. But what about taking an inch of doubt, a measure of doubt that science can show us the way, how life came to be, and whether there's any meaning, and how the universe came to be, and whether there's any meaning in the universe.
Hmm.
There are mathematicians who say that they're looking for one mathematical formula that would uh, answer the question that I posed. And I added, maybe there's a pulse of discovery somewhere that we will unearth.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things I'm working on because I'm making the point that um, that the night sky was a threat to early man. They didn't know what it was. There was, the falling stars falling in an arc. They're wondering if they'd ever land at their feet. Um, and the early storytellers and shamans and priests started telling them stories that over thousands of years had biblical dimensions. And the cathedrals are built to replicate the awe of the night sky. And I've got quotes from friends of mine who toured some of the medieval cathedrals in Europe, and the sense of awe that those cathedrals bring.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense of awe is a unifying sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's studies that I've shown that uh, awe can bring out the best of us,
Yeah.
and a sense of sharing wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm proposing is that this sense of wonder, the sense of mystery that Einstein talked about, he said that was his greatest theology, is the mystery of the universe.
Mm.
And and scientists are saying that they're close to finding out some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even one head of a department in MIT, who's a astrophysicist engineer, said that it is possible to start a universe, blow it up in a bubble, and send it off, and it would be detached from us. It would be virtually impossible to connect to it again. But these are reputable people. Uh, so I'm making the point that if we can go back to what the early man had of the wonder of the night sky,
Mm-hmm.
which most people in cities can't see because of climate change.
Right.
But if we ever tackle climate change, the sky would be open to little boys like me. My father used to take me around and explain the constellations and the speed of light, and
In the Bronx or in Manhattan?
in the Bronx.
Okay. This is
So
well.
that's
Here's my overriding question that I've asked you so many other times. You know, Abe, you just turned 95 in April, correct?
right.
And you're not looking for like a sunny beach to put your toes in and drink some wine all day and binge on television. What are you doing? You're thinking of humanity. What's going on?
Well, I believe there's a way to survive, even if we conquer the virus and conquer climate change. It doesn't mean we'll go back to our old habits. So that's why I'm saying, in the long run,
Yeah.
right now it's beyond most people's concept that we can unify over a mystery of the universe. That's
That was my backhanded way of complimenting you. I'm paying you a compliment. Most people, when they hit 62, it's like, where's the nearest beach? I don't want to talk about anything else. Give me a bingo parlor or whatever. So, it's wonderful that you have this passion and, this sense of, desire to know these things, and you're sharing them with people. I love it. It's great. I mean, believe me, it's a Saturday evening. You could be out on the town, man, but you're discussing the unification of humanity on Zoom. I love it.
oh,
That's the way we could go forward.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I really admire you, and it is refreshing, and it is more uplifting. You know, long term, to think about life beyond our own individual world. You're thinking in terms of humanity and how we could live better, and that ultimately does make your life richer. It does make your life more fulfilled.
Oh, it does, and it you're right. It just is exciting, and so I have something to look forward to for the few hours a day that I can devote to this. It's enjoyable.
Hmm.
Google is a miracle. I mean, they can answer almost any question that you
Yeah,
have.
it's true. Then the question becomes, what is the source that you're getting from Google, right? We have to examine what the source is, right?
Oh yeah, but some of it comes from the academy.
Hmm.
Uh, oh yeah, I make sure about that.
Sure, we have to check on that.
I read about 7 books on the universe of written for laymen, and most people don't realize there are many people who can interpret the most complicated formula in layman's terms.
Right.
Carl Sagan and the new director of the planetarium who followed up. Um, oh,
Sure.
there was someone on Nova who did it.
Hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of people. It is really very inspiring. I mean, it is part of our commercial capitalistic, degradation, that we are telling people, go look, for a new car or a new this or a new that, a shiny this or shiny that. Some of the most beautiful things that are created ever come naturally. Just walk out into a park. A leaf that's been there for what, maybe 5 months, is there and is created, and you could sit in awe of nature that's right around us, right? And as you said, looking up at the stars, maybe we can't see the night stars the way you did as a child, but certainly there's beautiful things in the sky. And the whole concept that no matter how many lights we turn on, we never get it as bright as the sun gets the day, right? That's an amazing concept. We
Amazing
could just,
concept.
yeah.
I was
And
amazed when my father told me that light from the sun, which and the sun is 93 million miles away, gets here in 8 minutes because it travels was 186,000 miles a second.
I know the answer to that mystery. Do you know what the answer to the mystery is? It's
Oh, I'd
be
like to know.
Okay, you ready? It's
I'm ready.
because the MTA is not running it. Put the MTA in charge if you want the sun to slow down.
Well, don't knock the MTA because I take Accessoride
Yeah.
and they're pretty good.
Yeah. They have their good days. Not every day is a sunny day for the MTA.
Well, during the height of the surge, the COVID surge, they only took one rider at a time, and they would show up on time, and it was wonderful. Now they pick up 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
So, so you're going in the opposite direction for a while before you get back home.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the
yeah.
traffic now is just in the city is just almost as bad as it used to be.
Yeah. Well, look, I think ultimately, whether it's this time under COVID or other times under the nuclear, scares that we had in the 80s and the 60s and whatever, we always have to look for hope and resilience, right?
Absolutely,
We
absolutely.
must. And I just had some friends over my apartment, and because of COVID, I haven't been able to have a lot of company. And it was just so refreshing to just, share food with them, share my space, and enjoy their company, and as you said, we're not only altruistic species, we're social species, and we're going to shrivel up, and perish if we don't get vaccinated and be able to socialize in a healthy way.
Oh, it's absolutely right. Uh, we are social. That's been one of the hardest things about this pandemic is just not getting around as much as I used to, but uh, I do the best I can. And
Yeah.
you've been a lot of help.
Okay. I'm looking forward to coming to you. I just want to wait till this Delta variant is understood a little better.
Absolutely.
And I'm a little worried about that.
I got invited by a friend to go upstate Nyack, and I I told her that um, it's too upsetting, right, and too confusing. It's
Yeah.
changing almost daily.
Yeah.
That
Once it
she,
settles down, I'll come to you, and then we'll take another day, and you'll come here. I'll pick you up. You'll come in my car, so you don't have to worry about trains and buses. And we'll catch up that way as well. What I want to do, Abe, I'm gonna have to get off in a few minutes, but what I want to do is send you a link for people from Ethical to maybe talk during the week. I don't want to do it on a Sunday tomorrow because my brother is visiting me tomorrow all day. But maybe during the week if you want to ask a few people to get on, and we'll pick a topic and we'll talk about it.
oh, okay, all right.
Sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds good. Let me know. Let me know. I'm like almost any day next week would be good for me, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, the evenings are a little better for me around this time. And now that I know the technology works, we could do it, you know?
Well, I know Sandra would probably want to be on, and
Okay.
I don't know, maybe Kathleen Herrera. She doesn't have a computer though. She would only be on um, with a
Telephone.
phone. Is that
Okay.
possible?
Yeah, that's part of the link. If she looks at the message, the email message, it does give a phone link.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, great, Abe. Great talking to you.
Same here.
Yeah, yeah. So even we can figure this out, right? Okay, have a great evening.
You too.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Bye bye.